So I just got back from Caterpillar's Disaster Preparedness Conference in Vancouver. The main talk is what do we need to do to make sure our electrical grid is stable with all the natural disasters. As you guys know, BC has had nothing but last year, forest fires, floods, communities have been cut off, stranded. How do you get those emergency power things? How do you bring the grid up? Hospitals, community infrastructure, homes, heating, air conditioning. How do you make sure that people still have that in a natural disaster? Telecommunications, cell phones, that all requires electrical power. If a forest fire burns your transmission lines down, you need to make sure that you get that power to the communities. The way you've seen that before is, well, put in additional diesel generators, put in redundancy. But now we can do that with batteries. Batteries and solar are providing a lot more grid redundancy for emergency backup situations. Then I got to thinking, what can Edison motors do for that to increase grid resiliency? And think about it. We got a diesel generator in every single one of our trucks. We got 100 to 300 kilowatt hour battery packs that can provide that offshore power. So these trucks, times are good. They're hauling logs, they're hauling freight, they're doing whatever job they need to do. In an emergency situation, you can take these rigs and basically bring the grid back up at the community level because these generators are already there. I mean, hell, one of these trucks will power dozens and dozens of homes. And even in Merritt, right now, we're talking about the Edison truck. So obviously Merritt got flooded. Hundreds of houses completely demolished and gone due to the massive flooding. So part of this project, they want to do some 3D printing on the houses. They want to build 10 of these prototype 3D printed houses. So they reached out to us, being a Merritt company, and the issue is they need 3-phase power. Well, we got 3-phase power right at that generator that we can run to power it during the day. And then at nighttime, the noise bylaws from 10 till 7 will not let them run their 3D printer, but you can't stop the concrete pouring in the middle. So the solution is the battery bank in the truck. So that truck hooks up to the 3D printed trailer, moves it down the line between houses. The generator runs the 3D printer all day. The battery bank will run it between those quiet hours in the community in a self-contained unit. So they can provide that kind of offshore power. These Edison trucks should be able to stabilize the grid going forward. And I just think that's kind of cool. Even when it's not an emergency situation, these trucks can still provide power to the grid and provide that grid stabilization. Think about it. Right now, you got a lot of natural gas peaker plants. Well, if you had a natural gas truck or a diesel truck, when the buy rate on the market hits a certain price per megawatt. So let's say the price hits $200 per megawatt. You know your truck can produce at $100 per megawatt. That's where you can supply power. Your truck, as it's parked there, sitting at night in your shop, can act as a peaker plant to stabilize the grid. So therefore, you enter it into the computer. It's all an automatic program. I had to go through a course for the Alberta Energy Systems operator. And what you do is you go in, you program and say, hey, this is what it costs me. Above this rate, I want my truck to fire up and I want it to outfeed the grid. And then when the price goes low, say windmills hit the market, you get a big gust of wind, that wind level drops, wind puts a ton of power on it. They need to dump that power at a cheap rate. Well, you got battery banks and actually could take that power from the grid at a cheap rate, making you, well, saving you money on fuel because it's basically almost $0 a megawatt. You can fill that battery. And then if your battery's full, well, you can also deplete it when that rate hits a certain rate above it. So you can deplete and feed power to the grid with your batteries, take power from the grid, and let that diesel engine run as a peaker plant. I just thought it was a cool little benefit, really, of having that hybrid electric semi.